Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's video, we're just gonna keep it nice and casual for you guys today. I wanna talk about the tournament that I entered into this past weekend. I wanna give you guys my insights into that tournament, a little bit of the preparation that I did, and my big takeaways, the big lessons that I learned, and we'll talk a little bit how the day of the event actually went. Spoiler alert, I won. Kind of. While we talk about the tournament, we are going to be at what I consider my home course. We're out here at Two Rivers Church, super low-key course that I think is actually pretty underrated. I have a great time out here. This round, it's a hot round. So I went back and forth for a while on when I should play my first tournament, if I ever even wanted to play in my first tournament. Just because historically, I don't do very well in competitive scenarios. I really like individual sports where I set my own pace, I set my own bar. But I've really been enjoying disc golf, and so I thought it might be fun to compete. And so I decided it was time to sign up. So the tournament that I entered into was out in Crossville, Tennessee. It was at Meadow Park Lake Disc Golf Course, which is a really fun course. You guys need to go check it out if you're ever in Crossville. Excellent course, really well maintained. Now, this was a C-tier flex start tournament. All that means is this is like the lowest tier of tournaments. It's what's going to be most common wherever you live at your courses. If there are tournaments, they're probably going to be C-tier, maybe B-tier. Flex start simply means that you get to choose what time you tee off. So our time frame was 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and I got to pick a time slot with my friends that I was playing with. We all got to play on the same card, which made it that much lower pressure. That was one of the big draws for me signing up to this tournament, was that I actually got to play with my friends, which helped take a lot of the pressure off of the tournament itself. So to spoil this at the beginning of the video, I did win. I got first place in my very first tournament that I entered into. Reason I said kind of in the intro is because two other people also got first place. Now I'm sure you're wondering, how can that possibly be? And the answer is that it was a flex start tournament. So the fact that we could start at 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. based on whatever time we chose meant that players didn't have to stick around. It was such a casual round that actually the two guys that I ended up tying with, they played like 2 or 3 hours before me. They were gone by the time I teed off. During those tournaments, they don't expect people to wait around for 6 or 7 hours to do a tiebreaker in case one happens. When you actually go to the PDGA website and look it up, it's like, yeah, you got first place, and you got first place, and you got first place. So long story short, I won my first tournament. Kind of. So in terms of what division I entered into, I went back and forth a little bit. I really thought that I could do the MA1 bracket and compete well, and I would have done well in the tournament if I had done that. I definitely wouldn't have won, but I would have done well. I decided to enter into the MA2 bracket just based off the PDGA guidelines. It says if you can throw, 250 to 350 feet consistently and accurately, and if you can make, I think, 5 to 7 putts from 20 feet, maybe 25 feet. And so I think that that's generally where I fall into. So I entered into the MA2 bracket. So in terms of the preparation I did leading up to the tournament, I really did kind of take this to a science. I watched a lot of the other YouTubers and their tournament prep videos and their tournament breakdown videos just to learn how my mindset should be and how can I set myself up for success for my first tournament. So that included several different things. I went out to the field and worked on my form a little bit, but I didn't want to make any big changes before a tournament. That's just not a good idea, right? Even if you don't have perfect form, but you're used to that form, you probably shouldn't try and make any big form changes before a tournament, right? Because then things are going to get inconsistent. But I did go to the field, and I mainly did that to use the soccer goals. A couple of the soccer goals have big nets that are even behind them, and I treated them like trees. I treated them like gaps. I think a soccer goal is about 15 feet wide, maybe 20 feet wide. I don't know. Someone look that up and comment and tell me. So apparently soccer goals are the same size, but they're roughly anywhere between 18 feet and about 24 feet wide. I think that's a great gap. And the fact that it has the crossbar on top kind of helps you learn how to play woods golf if you go to the field, just because you're probably going to have low ceilings, or you just want to keep that disc low because you're playing in the woods so you don't kick as far if you miss your gap. But I think an 18 to 20 foot gap, that's good to practice with. So my field work was mainly working on hitting my gaps. I would start at about 100 feet out and then work my way out, throwing into the soccer goal itself just to get some mental strength going, you know, to know that I can hit that gap. This is what that feels like to hit that gap. Now, my putting preparation was completely different than what I've been doing for the past couple of months. Instead of coming out here and using one of the baskets and just hammering 30-minute, 1-hour sessions of putting in, I decided to almost take a break entirely from putting. Mainly because I've found, for me personally, that when I take a break, if I take a small vacation, I've been traveling, whatever, when I come back, my putting feels relaxed, it feels more natural, it feels smoother. It's almost like I'm telling myself, hey, you're just throwing a frisbee, right? Like, throw it well. Instead of worrying about, okay, is my wrist angle okay? Am I giving it too much hyzer? Am I going to snap my wrist the wrong way? Is my finger going to catch the rim? There's so many factors that come into my putting that I didn't want to be too into my head, you know? I wanted putting to be something that was automatic and natural. So while my putting was good, I wanted to just make sure that my mindset was, you are a good putter going into the tournament. You can make these putts. The way that I achieved that mindset before this tournament was in the week leading up to it. I essentially stopped any long basket practice sessions. Instead, I just had a small target set up inside my house, and maybe once or twice a day I would grab my putters and I would throw them like 15, 20 times just to make sure that my putt kind of felt good. But the second it stopped feeling good, I just stopped putting. Come back to it later. I wanted to tell myself, you are a good putter, you have developed this muscle memory, and I needed that mental strength going into the tournament. And you know what? It really did work out for me. So I also played 2 practice rounds out at the course itself, which was really, really important. The first round, I played best shot doubles to the extreme. I threw 2 or 3 off of the tee, I would take best shot, throw 2 up shots, I would putt twice. I just wanted to see how it would feel to be out there playing the course and really get to know it and know what angles were going to be good. So that gave me a score that was like, over here. It's pretty good. The second time I went out to practice, it was almost the same conditions, which was nice, and then I played my first lie. I still practiced and threw multiple shots, but I always played my first shot and treated it as a normal round and tried to put myself into that tournament mindset. And that gave me a number that was about right here, which I think helped me decide, okay, if I want to set expectations for this tournament, where am I going to end up? And I think that putting that bar right in the middle, so here was the best of the best, here is how I did in a normal round, my best during the tournament, I think would fall like right there in the middle, right? I think that was fair to assume. The biggest thing I was focusing on in doing all of my field work and my putting and going out and doing those practice rounds at the actual course was I just wanted to build a strong mental game. I wanted to put myself in multiple scenarios, but also tell myself, hey, you can do this, you can attack this course, we just have to come up with a game plan. So this was going to be the foundation for how I built my expectations for the tournament and how I developed my game plan for what I wanted to do day of. So I put each of the holes on the course into one of 3 categories. The first one being it's attackable. Attackable for me means I have the shot that's required to pull this off, and I have a high percentage of getting within 20 feet of that basket. The next bracket is going to be this is a maybe. A maybe hole for me means that I do have the shot required, but it is a lower percentage chance of me getting within 20 feet of that basket, and is potentially going to be a higher risk if I decide to go for it. So those are maybes, and I decided to leave those up in the air depending on how I was doing during the tournament. The last bracket was par. Not attackable, not a maybe. You are playing for position. We are getting a par on this hole if everything goes well. If everything goes well, happy with par. So the day of the tournament was pretty cool. We showed up and there were probably 30, 40 people kind of mulling around, waiting around for their tee times. We checked in. The tournament director was incredibly kind, gave us some small rules, told us to meet back so we could have a player meeting at a certain time, and then they gave us a voucher. We got a $20 voucher to use at a disc station they had set up, just like a nice little shop where I was able to pick up this nice Octane. So just like any other tournament, we did get a player's pack of sorts. We got to choose our own disc, which honestly was kind of cool. When it was 10 minutes before our tee time, we went over some rules, how to use the PDGA live scoring. Tournament director was extremely helpful, made everything very easy, very simple. Now when it was actually our tee time, I didn't realize that they were going to announce our PDGA numbers and our names, kind of like you see on skins and all the other tournaments, right, when they do the start of the tournament, which made me feel really cool and also super nervous. Y'all, teeing off at hole 1 of your first tournament, my heart was pounding. You've got a whole bunch of people that turn around to watch as soon as there's going to be a tee off because they want to see how you do. Hole number 1 was just over 200 feet, I think, and it's one of those 25, 30-foot gaps. It's kind of a wooded hole, just a straight tunnel shot, which we all know the hardest shot in disc golf is, hey, throw it straight. They announced my name, I got up there, I dealt with the pressure, and y'all, I almost dunked it. I think I missed chains by like maybe 2 feet, but it was so cool to have that many people watching, throw a good shot, and then kind of hear the crowd behind you go like, oh, you know, you hear one guy go, yeah, that could do it. And you get really excited, and then it misses, and you kind of hear everyone just go, oh, and it was a really cool experience. So for my first tournament ever, first throw couldn't have gone any better. But I was very, very nervous. I was very, very nervous. So the tournament ends up going really well. I had a great time, super fun, and now I get to reflect on, okay, what I learned. What could I have done differently? The number one thing that I would say, if you're going into your first tournament, or any tournament for that matter, and you do come up with a game plan, you have a designated attack plan on how you want to play the course, don't get greedy. Stick with your plan. I showed up to a par 4. It's a 600-foot hole. And I told myself during both of my practice rounds, you're going to play this for par. You're going to play this for par. I even practiced putting, because what made putting so dangerous on this hole is that you're throwing uphill towards the end, and the basket is on top of a big boulder. From the base of that boulder to where the basket is anchored in is probably about 5 feet, maybe 6 feet, and then the basket's on top of it. But you're standing on a downhill slope, and so even if you were right up against the rock, you still have like an 8-foot shot to the basket that's straight up. I practiced it during both of my rounds, just in case I thought, yeah, maybe I'll go for it if I do well in the tournament and my second shot ends up really well. I didn't make a single one of those putts. So what happens during the tournament? I throw a great drive. I throw a beautiful upshot. I'm 3 feet from the base of the rocks. And I tried going for it. I broke my game plan and told myself if I go long, I can probably make the putt. I didn't go long. It hit the bottom of the cage. My putter hit the rock, and then it rolled about 40 feet down the hill behind me. I was down 3. I didn't have a single bogey. There was no good reason for me to attack that hole. But I got greedy, and I ended up taking a bogey on the hole because I got greedy. Now, it's not great to reflect on things like that because the truth is there were tons of things that I could have done differently and my competitors could have done differently throughout the round. So I think the best thing that I can do is say, hey, you made a bad decision. You had a game plan and you broke your game plan and you broke that decision. And that's okay because I learned from that bad decision. But so number one thing that I learned from the tournament, stick to your game plan if you have one. And also, don't beat yourself up because that mental comeback is pretty hard. My second takeaway is something that I really kind of apply to my life in general, and that is expect the unexpected. Things just probably aren't going to go your way. Whether that's weather, the weather can change from between your practice rounds to the actual tournament. Whether that's someone rolls their ankle. I almost got taken out by a rogue disc at hole 2. I was walking and someone hit a tree and I almost had a fairway driver take out my ankle. It was coming in hot. So unexpected things are going to happen. We even had a logistical error. I was keeping charge of the PDGA live scoring and I was being super intentional about it. And my friend that was on my card was keeping score on UDisc. The problem with that is the course that we were at only has the long layout for UDisc. So when we got to the end, we'd only played shorts for the entire tournament. So even though the numbers themselves were the same, the par was different. And so the score was off. And that took us like 10 minutes to figure out, and it made people a little stressed. You know, and expecting the unexpected, like holes that you think are complete give-me holes, you know? Like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to get that. You might mess up 1 or 2 of them. That happened to me today out here at Two Rivers. That's the one hole that I didn't birdie. I had the hottest round I've probably ever played out here, and I missed the gimme hole. It's the shortest one with the best shot, and I missed it. Expect the unexpected. So during the tournament, I messed up that hole, and that was the first time that I dealt with a mental setback. and I'm not really good at dealing with those, and so I was pretty worried about how I was going to play after that. I was 12 holes into the tournament, I was doing well, and I just shut down after I made a bad decision. I got on the next tee pad though, and I told myself, this doesn't affect you. You're still the same person. You can still play the way that you love to play. Just make sure and breathe and have fun. And it probably was just luck, but I ended up birdieing the next hole, which I would argue is one of the lowest percentage holes at that course. And then I made the putt, you know, and it wasn't a short putt either. And so that really helped my mental strength come back. But remember to breathe, remember to relax, and remember, the tournament's still just disc golf, right? We're just having fun. So that's kind of how my first tournament went in a nutshell. I had a great time. I had a lot of fun with my card. I had a lot of fun talking to people. It was the first disc golf event I'd ever been to. And just the camaraderie that was out there, people cheering for each other, everyone was friendly. So if you're on the fence about signing up for your first tournament, do it. Go ahead and do it. It's so much fun. Those C-tier tournaments, you don't even have to be a PDGA member to go. You do have to pay a little extra money to do it. But hey, go out and play your first tournament. Go meet new people and go have fun hucking some plastic with them at some trees. Because it was arguably the most fun thing I've done since I started playing. So that about does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching me absolutely crush it at Two Rivers Church out here. Unfortunately, I didn't get that good birdie, but hey, eventually we will get 9 down out here. Until next time, guys, have fun, get better, and stay decent.